mid to high single figures quite widely, but some rural spots dipping close to, perhaps even a little bit below freezing. So there could be a touch of frost first thing tomorrow morning, and also a few patches of mist and fog across southern parts of England and Wales. Largely dry, just 1 or 2 coastal showers here and there. Similar story across northern parts of England. Meanwhile, across Scotland and Northern Ireland, showers will be piling into western parts. Some of them could be a little bit on the heavy side. Meanwhile, towards the east, well, it is going to be drier, it's going to be clearer, and with that, a greater chance of a touch of frost and also some of those mist and fog patches. Once any mist and fog does lift, it's actually looking like a pretty fine day for many of us tomorrow, probably the driest day of the week for most, with a good deal of dry, sunny weather around, albeit there will be some cloud here and there, and the cloud is going to thicken from the southwest as we go later on. With the sunny spells, most of us will see it should feel relatively warm at times, albeit temperatures are near normal for the time of year. Heavy rain and strong winds push in from the southwest later tomorrow. They feed their way across many southern parts as we go into Thursday. We're looking at the potential for gusts in excess of 70 miles per hour around some eastern parts, and rainfall totals in the south up to 50 millimetres. So some disruption quite likely because of that low pressure that's pushing its way in. Friday's looking showery, Saturday's drier but colder. See you later.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, look, we're going to be revisiting that exclusive comment from Shabana Mahmood about how she intends to fix this catastrophic rape gang inquiry. We're also going to be talking as well about Rachel Reeves' plans to raid the middle classes for an extra £2 billion. Essentially, if you're on more than 100 grand a year, it looks like she's really coming for you. It would be a direct break, I think anyway, of a manifesto promise. Benefits are set to rise, though, so that's good. And Prince Andrew might be forced out of Royal Lodge. All that and much more. Stay tuned.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes 1 entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. 1 entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome along to Late Edition breaking right now.
I have said that 1 million times from this dispatch box, and yet the same thing gets peddled again and again.
Well, the government is in a right state over the grooming gangs inquiry. It's made at least one of tomorrow's national newspaper front pages. However, we also have that TV exclusive statement from the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. Just 1 hour ago, in fact, the Home Secretary told GB News that disproportionate numbers of men from Asian ethnic backgrounds were amongst the suspects for group-based child sexual exploitation. She obviously refused to use the word Pakistani. However, there were some other bullet points in there that I think were encouraging, shall we say, about how she intends to deal with what has so far, let's be honest, been a bit of a shambles. And well, that was footage that our reporter Doogie Beattie shot for us. He's at a protest outside an asylum hotel in Dublin. Allegedly, an asylum seeker there has sexually assaulted a 10-year-old child. Doogie will be joining us live on this show for the latest, and
he's disgraced himself, he's embarrassed the royal family time and again. He should just go and lead a quiet life now.
well, predictably, Prince Andrew is on the front of 3 newspaper front pages. The Sun's got the, I think, most devastating one for him. Off you trot, is what they say with a picture of him on a horse. But is he going to be kicked out of Royal Lodge amidst the revelations that his rent has been a single peppercorn? Meanwhile,
of course, we're looking at further measures on tax and spending to make sure that the public finances always add up.
well, on the front of one of the national newspapers tomorrow, they have Rachel Reeves's £2 billion tax raid, apparently on some members of the middle class. We're going to look at exactly what that means. And finally,
I'm sorry. That last hand.
I love this story. A union boss has been caught splashing members' cash at a Las Vegas casino on an all-expenses-paid trip. You couldn't make it up. Oh, joining us this evening is broadcasting royalty Christo Fast. We also have Labour councillor Sebastian Salek and GB News contributor and comedian Paul Cox. But first, let's get those bulletins with Tatiana.
Patrick, thank you. The top story. Speaking exclusively to GB News, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has outlined how she will salvage the grooming gang inquiry after days of complete chaos. 4 grooming gang survivors quit over concerns about the inquiry being watered down and a potential chairwoman pulled out of the process. Speaking to GB News tonight, here is some of what the Home Secretary has said. It is time for truth. For years, the victims were ignored. A few, this channel amongst them, listened to them and gave them a voice. But to its eternal discredit, the state in its many forms did not heed their call until it was far too late. She goes on to say, in time, we came to know this as the grooming gang scandal, though I have never thought the name matched the scale of the evil. We must call them what they were, evil child rapists. Well, as I mentioned, a 4th survivor has quit that panel for the government's grooming gang inquiry. Jessica, not her real name, from West Yorkshire, she was the 4th to quit the panel this evening, and she had said she was stunned to learn that the 2 prospective chairs were a former police officer and social worker, Jim Gamble and Annie Hudson. The survivor was one of several members of the panel blocked from attending the meeting with the prospective chairs. In the end, Annie Hudson quit ahead of any interviews, citing media pressure. The Safeguarding Minister, Jess Phillips, has insisted that the terms of reference would be focused on grooming gangs. The Home Office also issued a statement today saying the abuse of children by grooming gangs is one of the most horrific crimes imaginable. Any suggestion that this inquiry is being watered down is completely wrong. We are committed to delivering a robust, thorough inquiry that will get to the truth and provide the answers that survivors have so long campaigned for. She says we are working urgently to appoint the best chair to take forward this work and deliver justice, putting victims and survivors at the heart of the process. Elsewhere, a police van has been set on fire and missiles have been thrown at police officers as protesters gathered outside a hotel used to house asylum seekers in Dublin. It's the second night of demonstrations outside the City West Hotel after an alleged sexual assault in its vicinity in the early hours of yesterday morning. A large crowd has gathered in the area and members of the Garda's public order unit have been deployed. Footage from the scene showed a Garda vehicle on fire as well as several protesters displaying Irish flags. And finally, the ghostwriter of Virginia Giuffre's memoir, Nobody's Girl, has called on Prince Andrew to tell US police everything he knows about Jeffrey Epstein's abuse. Amy Wallace says the Duke of York needs to speak about his own moral compass, claiming his silence continues to hurt victims. The lawyer, Gloria Allred, who represents several of Epstein's victims, echoed the call, urging Andrew to cooperate with investigators about what he may have witnessed at Epstein's Manhattan home. Prince Andrew continues to deny all wrongdoing. Those are the latest headlines. For now, it's over to Patrick.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Welcome along to the latest edition. Let's get you Wednesday's newspaper front pages. The Metro goes with Boris, our lockdowns failed kids. The Daily Telegraph lead with Putin defies Trump as peace talks collapse. But as ever, of course, with the Telegraph, there are some other stories on there that go on Rachel Reeves' tax raid on GPs and lawyers and Prince Andrew's Royal Lodge future in doubt. We also go for the Independent now. Brexit hit economy even harder than feared, said Rachel Reeves. That's it's convenient, especially if you're looking at using it as an excuse in order to raise everyone's taxes. The Daily Mail, grooming gangs inquiry in chaos. Again, I will just say that we've got that exclusive comment there from Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary. If you're just joining us, we'll fill you in on that shortly. The Eye, benefits set to rise by 4% as problems pile up for Reeves. There's another interesting take here on the front of the Eye. I actually do quite like the structure of the Eye's front pages because they give you the headline, then they give you like 3 or 4 bullet points to go underneath it as well. They're essentially kind of pitting pensioners against benefits. So we go, well, though I appreciate there's a fine line there, but anyway, benefits are on track to be hiked by around 4%, lower than the increase in the state pension due to higher than expected inflation. We'll talk about that. It's not the only economy story there. The Guardian, family law shift hailed as victory for children facing domestic abuse. The Daily Express, helping sort Sasha's evil killer stays inside prison. This is Katie Brett, who said that the murderer of Sasha Marsden, who may go free in 2048, he needs to basically stay behind bars. He stabbed her sister more than 100 times, I believe, there. Let's go to The Sun now. They go for Off You Trot, Mr. Windsor. It's a picture of Prince Andrew on a horse. And then we've got The Mirror. PM's pride is in award winners. Britain isn't broken, you are all amazing. And that is the Prime Minister doing an event there in the Mirror in Downing Street with some Pride of Britain award winners. The Times, Chancellor Rachel Reeves plans a £2 billion tax rate on the middle class. Reeves targets professionals in partnerships. Right, OK. Let's bring you the story that's on the front of the Mail first, and obviously we here at GB News are able to knock that on a little bit, because here are the key bullet points for you from Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood's exclusive statement to us at GB News. This is in relation to the rape gang inquiry, which has been in turmoil. Firstly, this is her words now. The inquiry is not and will never be watered down on my watch. Its scope will not change, nor will its intent. It will be robust and rigorous. It will be direct and oversee local investigations with the power to compel witnesses and summon evidence. Secondly, this inquiry will focus on grooming gangs. That will not change. Thirdly, it will explicitly examine the ethnicity and the religion of offenders. So she's addressed 3 key points there about it. However, speaking to one of the survivors earlier on, who's a lady called Fiona, she says that she will only come back to be a part of this inquiry if Jess Phillips goes. Jess Phillips is accused of calling some of these survivors liars today. Let's just hear a quick thing from Fiona and then we'll get stuck into it with the panel.
So in my resignation letter, I made public about the attempts to widen the scope and also how the inquiry would be conducted, extending it from localities to regions. She said that them claims were categorically untrue, even though she was aware of them because of personal text I'd sent to her outlining what we were being asked, and her response back to me was that she knew that the question was being asked and that she couldn't make the decision without it being consulted on. So she called me a liar while she knew the truth.
OK, there we go. Paul, it's been a tumultuous couple of days, and a tumultuous couple of hours, really, when it comes to this grooming gang inquiry. Your views on this?
So, first things first, very brave of Fiona, incredibly brave of Fiona. Obviously, she went through hell and back, and it's about time these victims got justice. And there's far too much politics involved in this now. We just need truth and justice. That's all we need. It's all very good, Shamama Mahmood saying there are now 3 sort of pledges that she's going to make for this inquiry. That's already in disarray because of what we've seen this week. Well, preceding that statement is a whole bunch of things collapsing, unable to find a chair, victims walking away because they don't feel like they're getting the justice that they deserve. Jess Phillips getting angry about this, but angry about all the wrong things. Look, we're all angry about this, but I do, particularly with Jess Phillips this afternoon, the framing is terrible. She just has to be angry about what happened to the victims. Not about anything else, not about her career, not about the attacks on her politics, just about the victims.
I think that's the quite interesting point, actually, with Jess Phillips, where someone who previously, I think, had a fair bit of credit in the bank for certain things, I've felt, and I looked at her today and I felt it again, as though one of the things that she is getting very angry about is the potential damage to her own reputation, as opposed to maybe some of the other things. But, just to give you an indication, what you're looking at on the screens now is the Daily Mail's front page, just to show you how quickly this story has moved on. Since the Mail went to print, it's now been 4 victims who've pulled out of this inquiry. But go on, Christo.
Well, I think that we need to just remind ourselves of who the real victim is in all of this, and that is, of course, Jess Phillips.
Right.
Because she has managed, once again, to make it all about Jess Phillips. Jess Phillips being offended, Jess Phillips being affronted, Jess Phillips being accused of something. How does she make everything about Jess Phillips when, you know, Paul, you're absolutely correct. It's mind-boggling that we've got to the stage where they can't even get the inquiry right. And if I was advising Labour, heaven forbid that day would ever come, but if I were, I would say to them, don't you understand, right, that there is a very high likelihood, in fact, it's pretty much well known that Labour councils covered this up. Now, that's not to say the Conservatives didn't fail victims as well, because there was never anything done about it, but Labour councils, especially those in some of these areas in the north, they covered this up. So we have to be more robust than ever. We have to make it that we are absolutely getting this all out in the open. Years we have been talking about this. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I put Sammy Woodhouse, one of the victims, on daytime television in 2016. I put Maggie Oliver on daytime television in 2016, thinking it's daytime TV. This is so shocking. Something's now got to be done about all of this. You know, it was me and part of a team, but and nothing is ever done. 9 years. It's been going on longer than that.
So can I ask you about the Jess Phillips situation? Because I think it's become quite uncomfortable for Jess now. I mean, if you've got one of the survivors, she's not alone, actually, Fiona there saying that really she wants Jess Phillips to go and she wants an apology. Do you think that has to happen?
I'm not going to sit here and call for Jess Phillips to go. I think a big part of this, as I've said in the past, is about making sure that the survivors are satisfied. Unfortunately, there are so many of them, and so satisfying everybody is going to be a really difficult task, and you can't take calls from individuals and make political decisions based on that. That said, I think it's really notable that the Home Secretary is now getting involved. This has gone a level above, and it shows how seriously Labour is taking this, that a figure like that is getting involved, and I think it is exactly the right thing to do.
Why has it taken them those brave girls whistleblowing and saying, actually, we are now going to jeopardise the whole inquiry by coming out publicly, and we're going to write this letter publicly. And that's the only way that now the parameters of this are being respected. And to your point about, we can't listen to sort of everyone's opinion on this, and I understand that, but these are the victims.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the ones that should surely have a big hand in setting the parameters.
No, definitely.
So why has it taken that, though?
I don't know. I'm not in the room. I don't know what's gone on. But you're right that this is about making sure these people see justice who've been through awful, awful things. And
sorry, Sebastian. It's not. It's unfair to aim these questions at you. I mean, you just happen to be on the left on this panel.
Yeah.
Weirdly, sat on the far right of this table. So congratulations. But it seems to me like this is the easiest politics anybody could manage. It's 101. It's children being abused. All you have to do is dedicate yourself to justice, irrespective of politics, irrespective of who the perpetrators are and whether they could maybe nick your seat in the next general election. None of that should matter. If you want to make a name for yourself in politics in 2025, put this front and centre and make it the biggest story and create the biggest justice this country's ever seen.
But the problem is there have been too many people over the years that have said that because of the ethnicity, the fact that many of the perpetrators of this, in fact, almost all of the perpetrators of this particular kind of abuse, Pakistani Muslim, there have been too many people over the years who have said, you're racist for saying that, you mustn't say that. And that has created a fear and created the cover-up. And now everyone's trying to save their backsides who were part of the cover-up of this, who did not want this to proceed.
Just one more clip that I want to play for you from Fiona. There's a relevance here to what Christy has just been saying. So let's hear from her.
The police actually even took me back to the men's house once, dropped me off and told them to have fun with me. The way they spoke to the men about stuff, they basically explained if I signed myself out of care, the police would not have to come and find me anymore. So that made the men come up with an idea of me getting signed out of care so they could take me to Kashmir. And that was upon conversations with police officers.
To take you to Kashmir in Pakistan?
Yes, to take me to Kashmir in Pakistan.
OK, so look, very clearly in Shabana Mahmood's statement, which finishes with the line, there will be a reckoning, and starts with the line, it's time for the truth. She also says that the ethnicity and religious data as well, I think, is going to be a central part of this.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important that we've had that statement today, very punchy, as it should be for a very serious situation. The test for Labour now is, does that translate into action? We don't know yet, but that is really what has to happen now.
And I hope Shabana Mahmood says to herself, and it does seem from that statement, I mean, you never know whether you're getting the truth, do you? But does seem with that statement that she is perhaps particularly sensitive to looking like she might be going, might be particularly soft on the ethnicity or the rest, because she's going to get those accusations, isn't she? So I wonder if actually, in an ironic way, her ethnicity and religious belief will be the very thing that can make her, prompt her to say, right, well, I don't want any accusations that I am showing any favour, so I am going to be harder than any other Home Secretary on this.
There is actually some credit. I'll just explain some of the context. I might as well kind of pull the curtain back a little bit on this Shabana Mahmood comment. So she chose to give us, the GB News specifically, that very, very lengthy statement. We are the only TV channel she's done for that. The only other outlet she gave a statement to was The Times. And what you'll notice is that The Times are credited with to Andrew Norfolk, the journalist, now deceased, I believe, sadly, who initially kind of started doing a lot of the Grooming Young investigations years ago, and then she's come to us. So what does that say about the psychology of this current Home Secretary? I would say it says that she identifies the two outlets whose viewers or readers would appear to maybe care the most about this topic.
And need it the most.
And need her to be. And she's done that. And you know, all right, you're not going to get a huge amount of credit all the time. The proof is in the pudding, but part of me thinks, well, fair play for doing that.
Yes, it's good politics. She understands that GB News viewers are very energised by this, and rightly so, by the way. When I hear that, I'm very grateful because, you know, I love the channel, I love working here, and I'm very grateful she speaks to the channel. What it says to me, however, is why aren't other people interested?
Well, yeah.
You know, I mean, why do you think, oh, do you know what? I've got this big story about some rape gangs. You know what? I'll speak to GB News because the BBC won't be interested, Sky won't be interested, and you just think to yourself...
The building would burst.
The Guardian won't report on it. You know...
He wants to refer to it as a moral panic.
Yeah, well, a moral panic indeed, but it's a bit like the Jess Phillips situation. She's morally panic about her own position. And do you know what? Jess has been... Jess, I don't know Jess, by the way.
Yeah.
But Jess Phillips has been someone that I've always thought, irrespective of her politics, has stood up for women and children. But she has failed, to some degree, on this particular
instance. That's what the survivors are saying at the moment. Like, Jess obviously isn't here to defend herself, but we'll have to see what...
But that was damning. That interview with Fiona, who was the person who'd written the letter, who said, look, there is correspondence. I've got the written receipts between myself and Jess Phillips.
Yeah,
as you're right, Jess Phillips isn't here to defend herself. She may have a different version, but that is damning.
All right. Look, coming up in just a moment's time. Well, it's kicked off in Ireland, specifically outside a migrant hotel in Dublin. Our reporter, Doogie Beattie, has been at the scene. He was actually attacked by police earlier on. We've got footage of that. I'm going to take you live to the scene in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
360,000 people are without a home, thousands of whom are on the street, but most are living in terrible, terrible conditions, bed-sits, awful B&Bs above rows of shops and hostels. 160,000 of those are children. Can you imagine trying to perform at school or in your job? And this is a crisis, Dawn, and it costs billions. That's the worst thing. We spend about £4 billion a year dealing with this, and it's just getting worse and worse.
Well, let's talk about those 160,000 children, because that's the thing that affected me when I read it this morning. Couldn't believe the numbers of children that are homeless in this country. How is this happening, Andy?
What's happening, Ellie? It's complex, but the biggest single issue, the simplest issue, is that we do not have enough homes. We don't build enough. To put it really simply, if you have a population of 10 people and you have 9 homes, somebody is going to be without a home, and that's what we've got. So when we don't build enough, somebody loses out. It's gone on for decades, by the way. Somebody loses out, and it's always going to be the poorest. It's the people who live the most chaotic lives, or have the least money, are going to be at that bottom and falling out of it. And it's absolute chaos. Ellie, the worst thing about this, it's really fixable. We can get people off the streets. We can create the medium-term accommodation to transition people from the streets, from shelters, into more permanent places. We can do this by reprioritising some of the 2.8 billion. We spend 2.8 billion quid just sticking people into really expensive overnight B&Bs. As I say, awful, crummy places above kebab shops where kids are growing up for months on end and struggling with lack of space. We can fix it, but there just isn't the political will.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome along. So before we dip back into the front pages, which includes, by the way, a pretty significant tax if you dare to earn a bit of money in Britain. Before that, GBNews reporter Doogie Beattie has been outside a protest at a migrant hotel in Dublin. Now, the details of this are very distressing. So a man in his 20s was charged in relation to the sexual assault alleged of a 10-year-old girl. According to reports, the suspect arrived in Ireland 6 years ago, was basically turned down from asylum, kept in the country, classic, and then went on to commit this horrendous attack. Doogie Beattie has been there for us. Doogie, thank you very much. Could you just give us a bit of detail, really, about the nature of this protest, but also the nature of this case? What's going on?
Well, basically, this 10-year-old girl went missing a couple of days ago, and then it was alleged that she had had a serious sexual assault against her. The man that was arrested for that was 26 years of age. He was arrested and charged today in court. He is appealing for bail. But the interesting thing about that is, of course, is that he had to have an interpreter alongside him. Now, we do know that this man was not, he'd failed for asylum in Ireland 6 years ago, and we believe that he was staying in the City West Hotel behind us, which it's one of Ireland's biggest hotels. It was bought by the government a few years back and turned into an iPass centre. There's about 2,000 people staying there, mostly young undocumented males, and that was, if you remember, about 18 months ago I reported on the tents, etc., that was on the streets in Dublin, and the real problems that were going around immigration. Now, strange enough, this weekend is the presidential elections in Ireland, and really that's on Friday. This doesn't help one bit, because last night this protest started here. Tonight, thousands of people turned up, and the Garda Síochána, the police force of the Republic of Ireland, came out in force. They had water cannon, they had pepper spray, riot shields, dog units and horseback units. But being Ireland, of course, Patrick, the rioters retaliated with their own horse unit, letting about 15 horses down the road right through the middle of the Garda lines. Now, from that point on, everything kicked off, and we've had running battles in the street here all night long. In fact, I was corralled into a side street here. But really, when a riot goes over and everything starts to go calm, you look, the whole roads are full of bottles and bricks. There's major damage done to street lights, telephone boxes. This up in the corner here, the houses that we were staying in, were corralled into, now have no electricity. There's a gas leak in the area because the rioters were ripping off the bricks from around those and using them as missiles against the police. It must be said that the police did not handle this extremely well. In fact, we were attacked at the time. When you're in a riot and if things start to get riot or get a bit boisterous on one side of the riot, you move towards the police line, you move into the right or left hand side of the police line, stay close to the hedge, and the police will go past you. You've identified yourself as media, you shouldn't have a problem. We were pepper sprayed and then openly attacked by the police at that stage. Now, it has to be said, we're one of the only members of the media, television media, covering this tonight, and it was strange that they decided to openly attack us. But there has been hundreds and thousands of pounds worth of damage here. I can look down the street, there is a police vehicle that is half burnt out, and there's more smoke rising from down near the Lewis station, which is the tram station, just about, I'd say about 500 yards away, and that's where the main concentration of that battle actually took place. It's not going to calm down over the weekend, and in fact they need to try and wind this back rather than sending the police in for more and more confrontation.
Doogie, thank you very, very much. Well done tonight, as ever, of course, and no doubt you'll be there on the scene for us going forward if it kicks off again. It's a wonderful Doogie Beattie there, who is our man on the ground. Right, let's just drag it back a bit closer, literally to where we are, I suppose, and go to the front of the Times. Now, we're going to start talking about it now, and then we'll carry it on after the break, like a fight that starts in a pub and then spills into the car park. So, Chancellor plans £2 billion tax rate on the middle class. Here's some detail on this. Rachel Reeves will launch a £2 billion tax rate on lawyers, family doctors and accountants as she seeks to balance the books by targeting the wealthy. It's interesting to see what she classes as as wealthy here. So more than 13,000 of these partners, as they're called, earn an average of £1.25 million a year. Solicitors who draw profits from partnerships make an average of 316 grand a year. Family doctors, an average of 118,000. And accountants, an average of 246,000. Right. OK, all right. Well, go on, Christopher, I'll start with you on this. What do you make of this? Is this fair enough, or is this basically theft?
It's just... Right, last month, the September borrowing was over £20 billion. That's the highest in 5 years of our borrowing in the UK. It's not been as high since COVID, and of course our unemployment figures have not been so high since COVID. And so COVID, of course, which was all the borrowing that Labour voted in favour of, which they're now pretending that they had no idea about. So why can't they get spending under control? Because I loathe what is happening to this country. I loathe the fact that you work and you earn a decent salary and the government want to get their sticky hands on it. That is not the country.
Can I ask you, sorry, I need to get to the bottom of what a limited liability partnership is. Now, I appreciate that, I don't know, we're not all tax advisors around here, but am I right in saying that these are people who are partners when it comes to... You can be a partner of a law firm, can't you? Or a partner of an accountancy firm, or you can have that kind of a partnership in a GP practice, for example, a family doctor. Is that what that is?
Yeah, I mean,
So I can give you a very clumsy explanation. It's a way of structuring a company. So you can have a limited company, you can have a partnership, and what it means is that profits get paid out to those partners. Yeah. And it's a really common way of structuring a law firm or any other kind of professional services.
And let's say if I did have one of those companies, right, and I paid myself, like, I don't know, 100 grand out of that. Or more, say 150 grand. Presumably, there is a current tax break on those, which means that they do not pay the 45% tax. Is that right?
I imagine they will be structured differently because a limited company is structured.
It says here that the tax benefit over ordinary employment terms is they're not subject to employers' national insurance because the partners are treated as being self-employed. So presumably they pay the national insurance out of their earnings, but they don't pay employers' national insurance.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
So when they do their tax return, because they're self-employed at the end of the year, they would pay national insurance, but the company doesn't pay national insurance for them because they are partners, they're not employees.
Right. What do you make of this then? Because like this is, I don't know. I mean, are we underestimating how much tax people actually do pay here? I mean, like they're still presumably paying quite a lot of tax. If you wanted to, if you lived in, let's say you started earning £250,000, you just started earning it. So you've not been earning it before, you started earning it, first year of it, and you had 2 kids, and you were looking to save up to get a mortgage on a flat in London. I don't think you earning £250,000 a year makes you rich.
Certainly does not in that example you just provided. And if you're working for an employer and paying PAYE, you're going to pay 45% on anything over whatever it is. 50, 60,000, yeah. So you're going to pay an incredible amount of tax on that. If you're a limited company, you're going to pay less tax because you're going to pay an accountant to work it in your favour. Now, and I have no issue with that at all. We should be encouraging ambition and success. And whenever you see anything like this, it feels to me, whether cynically or otherwise, an attack on ambition, an attack on success.
Well, you will pay over, in your example, you'll pay over the course of the year £98,000 in tax and £7,000 in national insurance. So you will take home out of that £250,000, £144,000. Now, £144,000 is not a small sum of money, but imagine that you are working for nearly half your time for the government. You earn £250,000.
We'll return to this after the break.
We've got to think about the environment we're in. This country is really struggling financially. It has been for many, many, many years. Somebody has to come up with some cash. That is the question we have to answer.
Cut spending? Why don't they cut
There's an argument for doing that as well, but there's a lot of money to raise, so somebody is going to have to come up with that.
Them on the back benches won't let them do that, so she knows the only lever that she can pull is tax rises.
We're probably going to need a bit of both, realistically. realistically, doesn't it make sense to go for somebody who's earning 1.25 million, 316,000, 118,000? These are all large sums of money. It's very fair to go after those rather than the poorest in society.
We're going to return.
Just come back after the break.
Put a pin in it for now, and we'll re-erupt very shortly. Stay tuned. We're also going to be finding out what's coming up on Ben Leo's show in the States. And off you trot, Mr. Windsor. Is it finally the end for Randy Andy? Is he going to be out of Royal Lodge? Stay tuned.
Good evening, I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. There's some wet and very windy weather to come later tomorrow and into Thursday, but for the time being, well, things are actually turning a little bit drier. We still have low pressure in control. It's just to the north of the UK, but it's somewhat easing, and so we're going to see a lot of the showery rain clearing away as we go through the rest of this evening, and most places turning largely dry. Not completely dry, there will still be a few showers coming into the northwest, but most places having a lot of clear weather. Because of the clear skies and the winds easing out as well, temperatures dropping a bit lower than they have done through some recent nights. Towns and cities mid to high single figures quite widely, but some rural spots dipping close to perhaps even a little bit below freezing. So there could be a touch of frost first thing tomorrow morning, and also a few patches of mist and fog across southern parts of England and Wales, largely dry, just one or two coastal showers here and there. Similar story across northern parts of England. Meanwhile, across Scotland and Northern Ireland, showers will be piling into western parts. Some of them could be a little bit on the heavy side. Meanwhile, towards the east, well, it is going to be drier, it's going to be clearer, and with that, a greater chance of a touch of frost and also some of those mist and fog patches. Once any mist and fog does lift, it's actually looking like a pretty fine day for many of us tomorrow, probably the driest day of the week for most, with a good deal of dry, sunny weather around, albeit there will be some cloud here and there, and the cloud is going to thicken from the southwest as we go later on. With the sunny spells, most of us will see it should feel relatively warm at times, albeit temperatures are near normal for the time of year. Heavy rain and strong winds push in from the southwest later tomorrow. They feed their way across many southern parts as we go into Thursday. We're looking at the potential for gusts in excess of 70 miles per hour around some eastern parts, and rainfall totals in the south up to 50 millimetres. So some disruption quite likely because of that low pressure that's pushing its way in. Friday's looking showery, Saturday's drier but colder. See you later.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to Late Edition. Coming up, Prince Andrew's all over the front pages again, and there's a bit more on tax. But first, it's over to the States with Ben Leo, who is going to be presenting The Late Show live for the next 2 hours after me, and he's going to tell us what's coming up on his show. Ben.
Hello, Patrick. I would say good to see you, but my monitor's gone black, so I'm talking into the ether, but no problem, that's fine. Oh, you're back. Hello. Patrick, tonight there's some big breaking news. President Trump, his big talk, his peace summit with President Putin, set for Hungary imminently in a couple of days, in a few weeks. It's been torpedoed today because there's been a massive fallout between, diplomats basically, over how the war should end. Russia's been accused of being very, very greedy indeed and not willing to renege on their frontline positions. Anyway, so the big summit in Budapest has been scrapped for now. My take on this tonight, Patrick, I'm not sure on yours, and maybe it's a little bit shallow, but I'm sticking with it anyway. I went on a family holiday to Turkey in August, and Russians completely overtook the hotel. Before that holiday, I was a bit indifferent about the war. It's thousands of miles away. I hear the arguments about NATO and what happens if Russia, marches their way across to Poland. Should we have something to say about it then? I was a bit indifferent. After that holiday, I came home thinking, we need to arm Ukraine to the teeth to finish this war. My patience wore thin in Turkey on a family holiday. I suspect, and I fear, President Trump's patience with Vladimir Putin and Moscow tonight is also wearing thin in the breakdown of this meeting in Budapest. So we're going to be getting stuck into that and a lot more as well, Patrick.
Well, fantastic. Can I just say, sorry, Ben, I am slightly intrigued. Is it because they were doing things like nicking your sunbeds? Were they a bit too greedy at the all-you-can-eat buffet, or was it something deeper than that?
How long have you got? Patrick, I could sit here for 2 hours and talk about the Russians running riot in Antalya in Turkey at my hotel. They are, look, I'm sure some Russians are nice. They are rude, they are aggressive. One assaulted a waitress. I could go on and on. I'd had, frankly, quite enough of them. And having spent time in Ukraine previously, maybe 6 months before the invasion, my experience with Ukrainians was very, very peaceful and pleasant indeed. So I've got a little bit of a grasp of both those peoples. But look, I joke in jest, but let's hope this war comes to an end soon.
All right, mate. Well, there you go. Look, we all have to form our opinions based on something at the end of the day, don't we? Just put the wonderful Ben Leo. I'll see you in a second, mate. Take care. Right, let's drag it back towards that. We're just going to pick up where we left off, because on the front of the Times, tax. Is this... So I just wonder if politically Rachel Reeves actually thinks she might be onto a win here, because it kicked off with the pensioners and it kicked off with the farmers. However, if Rachel Reeves comes for chartered accountants, family doctors and partners at law firms, there might not be the same kind of public sympathy for those people that we saw before.
There probably isn't the same sort of public sympathy for those people. However, everybody's getting hammered. It feels like everybody's getting poorer. And that will apply for these middle-class people as well. Everybody's living relative to their income. It's not like those people that are earning £150,000, £200,000 a year are living in a place that's rented at £500, £700 a month. I don't even know if that exists anymore, but let's just say, for argument's sake, that it does. They are living to their means as well, so everybody's feeling the pinch. Nobody's going to be comfortable. Sebastian's right. We're in a mess. We have to look at why we're in a mess, and we have to look at different ways.
Can I just mention something else from this story, which is buried in sort of paragraph 5? Rachel Reeves is also expected to announce a mansion tax that will impose capital gains tax on the sale of the most expensive homes. Well, again, what will she categorise as the most expensive? Because the most expensive somewhere in a place called the North will be very, very different to the most expensive here further south, number one. But secondly, what an insidious, horrific idea to actually take tax money from money that you gained from your residential property. What are they thinking?
I mean, it's not revolutionary, is it? You pay stamp duty when you buy a home.
So you've paid tax already?
Yeah, but you pay tax on every transaction. That's how tax works.
So if you're buying somewhere else, you pay tax on the stamp duty there, and you pay tax on the property you're selling, even though you've paid tax to buy that property too?
Yeah, if I sell a product, I pay tax on that, and if I buy a product, I pay tax on that too. That's how tax works.
What's it got to do with the government? Why is the government involved in that?
Because the government collects the tax and then uses it on public services.
I understand the concept of tax. Thank you for explaining that to me. Now, what I want to know is, why is the government involved in a land purchase and sale or a property purchase and sale transaction when it is nothing to do with the government? They provide nothing.
It already is.
I mean, I would abolish stamp duty as well.
Well, there we go. That's another question. I mean,
why should someone pay tax on their residential property that they are selling? Will there be if there is capital gains, will there be anything factored in for inflation? I would probably say absolutely not.
I don't know. I'm not the Chancellor. I don't know the details of this policy, but I don't think it's rabidly unfair to look at this.
All right, OK, well, there'll be more communication. I just want to get in Randy Andy, actually, if that's all right, quickly. So the Sun's front page... off you trot, Mr. Windsor calls to kick Andy from Royal Lodge. He's paid no rent for 22 years. He's got a cushy 75-year lease. Go on. I mean, he's actually on the front of a couple of newspapers, but go on. What's your take on it?
It's not going to get any easier for him. And as the Giuffre book actually gets published, you wouldn't realise this, but it's not actually been published yet. The book is coming out, so once it's out, he is going to be under fire even more. To find out that he's living rent-free or on a peppercorn rent, I don't suppose anybody's too shocked by that. But because he's a member of the royal family, a senior member of the royal family, I've always assumed that's how they pretty much live anyway. anyway, and we're paying for them. I'm a royalist, don't have too much of an issue with that. But when it comes to Randy Andy, it's a much bigger deal, isn't it?
Yeah, so my understanding on this, I'm willing to be corrected, but my understanding was that when it all kicked off about him initially, he was able to stay at Royal Lodge because he was able to provide evidence that he would be able to survive financially. So there was a financial lifeline that was provided to him. Now, that was, I believe, some kind of business deal / benefactor. And if you look at the front of the Daily Telegraph, they are now saying that he's lost that business lifeline. So Prince Andrew's future at Royal Lodge is in doubt after the collapse of a business deal that was intended to provide a financial lifeline.
Why can't he just live in Frogmore Cottage? I mean, that's
well, we still pay. Is it not just the same issue, but over there?
No, well, this is a 30-room mansion. I mean, Frogmore Cottage is like 5 bedrooms. OK, it's not ideal, but...
Yeah, I get it.
The royal family are in a bit of a bind here because what they don't want to do, I do think, you know, I'm not defending Prince Andrew here, who would, but what they don't want to do, though, is cut him completely loose and have a Meghan and Harry situation.
Yeah, but with that, though, I mean, there was at least initially an aspect of likeability about Meghan and Harry. I mean, is anyone...
Well, but people would read his book. They would read his book. Someone would publish a book from him. They would.
I mean, there's also a big question about what does this mean for the royal family. I think we need the royal family for many reasons, and it's in their interest to be taking action to protect themselves. And if that means booting him out, then so be it. I think that's the prism we have to look at this through.
I think they don't want a loose cannon out there. Now, I get on paper you would want to boot him out, but what are they going to do with him?
But I think you could just ruin him. I think if he's behaved anywhere like we are led to believe, I'm not just talking about the Virginia Giuffre stuff here, I just mean as a bloke. I think you could. I think the amount of negative PR...
He's got no credibility, has he? No. Who's listening to Andy?
Well...
But the thing is, someone would give him 5 minutes. The This Morning sofa would have him. They would.
Yeah.
I mean, who else have they had on that sofa? Let's be honest.
Well,
they would have him. They would. I mean, they would give him 5 minutes. A publisher would publish his book. They don't want that.
We've got to go. Because speaking about tonight's violent disorder, this is outside that Margaret Hotel in Dublin. I want to bring you this because it's apparently a breaking line. The Garda Commissioner, which is like their police chief, Justin Kelly, said, "Oh, brilliant. OK, and Garda, unpronounceable Gaelic Irish words, facilitate peaceful protest on a daily basis. This was obviously not a peaceful protest. The actions this evening can only be described as thuggery. This is a mob intent on violence against Garda. I utterly condemn the attacks on the Garda, who did their jobs professionally and with great courage to keep the public safe. Public order units, dog unit, mounted unit, air support and water cannon were deployed along with frontline colleagues, which brought the situation to a conclusion." There you go, speaking very, very strongly there about disorder in the area. Coming up in just a tick.
I'm sorry. That last hand nearly killed me.
Great story, this. Union bosses have been caught splashing their members' cash in Las Vegas. Brilliant.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Half-term has already started for some of us, but I'm afraid there's not much holiday sun to go around. Parts of Greece will see heavy showers and thunderstorms. Also, many areas of northern Europe will continue to see unsettled weather. Heavy showers, also some strong gusty winds, particularly around northern coasts of Spain and around coasts of France. Italy too will see some heavy showers, and Greece could see some quite intense thunderstorms with hail and gusty winds. These are set to continue as we head later into the week, with hopefully the return of some sunshine over the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Late Edition. Now, I just wanted to round you off. It has actually, believe it or not, made the front page of the Daily Telegraph, but I saw this online earlier on, and it's an absolute corker of a story, this. So it's a report that union bosses have splashed their members' cash on Las Vegas casinos and fine dining. Leaders of a railway trade union spent thousands of quid of members' money on an all-expenses-paid trip. The senior TSSA officials racked up a staggering $8.5 grand on expenses during a trip, but this trip was, may I say, back in 2022, which shows picture of taking quite a long time for this to come out. Four-figure casino bills, hotel invoices, business class transatlantic flights. I mean, is this? It's kind of got it all. This.
Oh, of course it has, and you love it, don't you? Because it's the peak of socialism, the trade union movement, and the reason it's amusing is it proves we're all the same. Okay, we've got this idea with socialism and equity that people are much more likely to be kinder and less human. Really, everyone's greedy. Okay, they've taken the money, they've splurged it in Las Vegas, they've had a great time.
So my point is, I like the way they've gone. They've also gone here. Transport Salaried Staff Association, which, let's be honest, it's not the best known union.
No, but it is the one that always does one of the tube strikes.
It is.
Right. It's always the RMT, the TSSA, and what's the other one that does the tube strikes?
Oh, you said that one. Anyway, yeah. Anyway,
Unite.
So yeah, you know. Anyway, including Manuel Cortez, who was the General Secretary at the time. So the General Secretary was the one who basically thought, right, let's go to Vegas, lads, put it on red and order a steak dinner. By the looks of it.
£8,500. I mean, in fairness, that's just a tube driver's weekly salary, isn't it?
Wow. I don't know. So what do you make of this? Is this a big story, or is it a much ado about nothing for you? What do you think?
It's certainly an entertaining one. I mean, I know I'm the token lefty and I'm expected to defend this kind of stuff, but it's a tricky one, isn't it, guys? I mean, we should be really clear. It's not the current General Secretary. No. It's not the current administration. This happened in the past. Don't know what was going through their heads.
Demonstrative of the way in which union bosses voters think, which is, of course, you know, publicly, oh my word, we're all part of a union, everyone has to be sort of, you know, peace and love to each other and safety, this is why we've got to strike. But behind closed doors, they're as money-grabbing and awful as some of the CEOs that they claim to hate.
Well, help me out. You've all been in this a long time. You're all experienced people. Have you ever seen a story like this before from the unions? Because I certainly have.
I was Googling it, I remember it. Len McCluskey took a private jet paid for by company given union contracts. You've got McCluskey, yeah, I mean, there's
and how many, aren't quite a lot of the unions as well, don't they have, like, fossil fuels companies as well, and some of the companies that they don't
by the way, I'm
like?
pains to say that notoriously litigious Len McCluskey probably did absolutely nothing wrong, so...
We love you, Len. We love you.
And a thumbs up. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's just the kind of on the...
Unions are great in principle, just don't go to Vegas and splash all the cash. That's the lesson for tonight.
I think that's rule one.
I actually disagree with both of those sentences. Going to Vegas and splashing the cash.
You've been to Vegas, we've got a few seconds, but you've presumably been to Vegas.
Do you know what? I've never been to Vegas. And I've never been a member of a union either.
No. I think if I went to Vegas, I'd be dead in a week, personally. But all right, guys.
I think it would be 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days. Yeah, especially one with you. Right, OK. Thank you very much for a wonderful panel. Thank you to you at home who've been watching and listening. I can give you a roundup now of the newspaper front pages for Wednesday. The Metro, Boris. Our lockdowns failed kids, The Telegraph. Putin defies Trump as the peace talks collapse. And by the way, I think you stay tuned because Ben Leo, by the sounds of it, is going in on that, the very latest developments. He'll have more of an update for you than what's on the front of The Telegraph because stuff will have happened since that paper went to print. The Independent, Brexit hit economy even harder than feared. That's Rachel Reeves. She's rolling the wicket for, well, this inevitably, I imagine, a relatively miserable budget that we get in, 30-odd days' time, I think now. The Daily Mail, grooming gangs inquiry in chaos. You've heard a heck of a lot about that on this show tonight, and I would argue rightly so. It's a big scandal of our time. Hopefully we can get that sorted. The Eye, benefits set to rise by 4% as problems pile up for Reeves. The Guardian, family law shift hailed as victory for children facing domestic abuse. The Daily Express, helping source Sasha's evil killer stays inside prison. And the Mirror, PM's pride in award winners. It's a Pride of Britain story. The Prime Minister has met some of the Pride of Britain award winners. So those are your front pages. I'm going to throw you over to Washington, D.C., where our very own Ben Leo is standing in for The Late Show Live. He'll be in there for the next 2 hours. Ben, over to you.
Thank you, Patrick. Good evening, viewers and listeners. The big peace summit in Budapest in Hungary between the US and Moscow has been torpedoed today. Russia accused of being greedy little so-and-sos, and it's all collapsed. President Trump's been speaking in the Oval Office very, very recently. I'll bring you his update. Will he be a bit miffed like I am with Russia, or will he have a bit more patience in the tank? Find out in just a tick.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on